Part 19. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 181. Chapter 181 Arriving Home. The production team leader is also named Lu, and his name is Lu Renhee. Nearly all people in the village have the surname Lu. When he heard this, he couldn't help but look Zhang Xiaoxiao up and down. One look at the clothes and temperament of these people who came here, and they were definitely not from the village. He must be from the city, especially the way Fan Jiangguo is dressed and has 4 pockets of clothes. He looks like a cotter at first glance. Besides, he really heard about it. The old Lu family had fought in the past, but they didn't expect that their comrades were still thinking about them. It's a pity that the couple left early. If he were still alive and had found some comrades who could help them, his family would not be in this situation. However, I took a look at Lu Jiajao in my heart. It seems that Lu Kazi and her 2 younger siblings will have a better life in the future. How can it not be helpful to have such relatives? No matter what, everyone has gone, and they can come to the house to see her, and even drive to her door in person. For this reason, this relative also takes them seriously. Lu Kazi was stunned. Why did she become their family? But she didn't say anything, she couldn't break up the trouble. Oh, you are really late. Couple, we have been gone for more than 3 months. This house is still so pitiful. Come in, say, come in, say, it's cold outside. Lu Renhee was more like a host than Lu Kazi, greeting everyone into the house. They all look like cotters, so don't invite these people in. His work as a production captain was very inadequate. But it was not good for him as the captain to be here. Lu Renhee sent them into the house and left. Lu Kazi then remembered and hurriedly greeted everyone into the house with her child in her arms. As soon as she entered the house, she saw that except for her 8-year-old sister, her brother was not at home. Just like that, my 8-year-old sister Lu Gaikan was also lying on the bed. She had 2 snot sneezing from her nose. The tip of her nose was red. She must have a cold. The child was lying on the bed too sick to get up. When he saw his elder sister who was also wilted, he opened his eyes and called eldest sister softly, and then fell asleep again. Lu Kazi became anxious now. You can feel the coldness in the room as soon as you enter the room. No wonder the children caught a cold. These 2 children still don't know how they are living like this. After all, there have been no adults at home for the past 3 months. By the time she received the letter, she hurried back and had already been struggling to this point. My mother-in-law was afraid that her mother-in-law's family would make the decision for her, so all the news from her mother's family was intercepted, and the villagers turned against her mother-in-law. She didn't catch up with her parents when they passed away, but when they came back, her younger siblings were still like this, which made Lu Kazi burst into tears. I am afraid that if something happens to my sister because of her illness, I will not be able to live up to my deceased parents. Zhang Xiaoxiao sighed. What's the use of crying anxiously? If he didn't quickly think of a way to raise the temperature in the room, he would also need to get some medicine for the child. Looking at the simplicity of the home, we also know that the 2 children are living a difficult life. Uncle, brother Song, you should hurry up the mountain and help get some firewood back, and then find the child. Although the snow has begun to melt, who knows what kind of situation is on the mountain. And it's too cold in this house. If we don't set up the fire pit, I'm afraid Ping Ping will get sick here today. Zhang Xiaoxiao could only make arrangements. Her uncle was not an outsider, so she did not put any psychological burden on him. Fan Jiangguo took a look at the room and saw that the children were indeed living a miserable life. Moreover, there was no firewood piled at all in the yard. There was only a small amount of firewood piled against the wall. It is estimated that the 2 children did not dare to light a fire pit in the house in order to save money for cooking. If they did not light a fire pit in this place in this weather, then it can literally freeze someone to death. Don't think that people can't freeze to death in spring. The temperature here in spring is still more than 10 degrees below zero. Song Moding took Fan Jiangguo and left. The fire in the house must be lit, otherwise Zhang Xiaoxiao will get sick soon. Lu Gazi finally realized what she was doing. She quickly put her child on the Kong and found a quilt to wrap her in. Then he hurriedly lit a fire and cooked some soup for his sister to drink. There is no doctor in their village. Even if they want to see a doctor for their sister, they can't do it now. Zhang Xiaoxiao watched Lu Gazi go to work and quietly took out a bottle of something. In addition to making dried peaches from the peaches on her own tree, she also made peach juice from part of them. The only thing she knows is that the peaches in her space can cure all diseases. You can't just eat as much of this thing as you want and wait for the results next time. It's too passive. As long as the tree bears peaches, Zhang Xiaoxiao will try his best to make it into a semi-finished product and preserve it, so that the tree can continue to bear peaches. Lu Gaikan had been feeling dizzy from the fever for a long time, and she knew that she drank some sweet and cold liquid in her mouth. No matter what it was, Jilagulu drank it and then fell into a deep sleep. When Lu Gazi cooked the soup and came in, she saw that her sister seemed to look much better. It doesn't feel that burning to the touch. But I still drank the soup. She felt relieved when she saw that the situation seemed much better. Looking at the four walls of the house, I felt desolate. My parents had only been away for 3 months, and the house had become like this. I guess it was relatives who had moved everything away from the house. Even if their family was poor, they were not so poor. She didn't know how her younger brother and sister got here in the past 3 months, so she rummaged around in the kitchen. There was less than 3 kilograms of cornmeal and nothing left. Looking at Zhang Xiaoxiao now, she felt really grateful. If she hadn't met Brother Fan on the road, she wouldn't have met Zhang Xiaoxiao and others. They are really good people. How can an outsider help them like this casually? Just the 50 kilograms of grain they brought back was enough for their family to eat until spring. The only worry is whether their household registration can be returned to the village. If they cannot return to the village, they will have no food rations. She and her children have no food rations. How can they eat with just the little food from her sister and brother? How will you live in the future? They rural people rely on earning work points in the production team to earn rations. If there is no such way, she is really blind. What else can she do except die? Lu Gazi couldn't help but sigh when she thought of this. The people in the village are very particular. Married daughters throw water, especially their married daughters, who have moved their registered residences without returning to the village. If the captain does not agree, then she must not settle in the village. Unable to fall into the village. Don't even think about earning work points and food rations. But the production captain Luren, he is not an easy person to talk to. Her parents have already gone, so it would be difficult for her to go to the captain and tell her about it. Lu Gazi's brows were furrowed in worry. Why are life so difficult? End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 182. Chapter 182 Misery. Zhang Xiaoxiao took one look at Lu Gazi and knew what she was thinking. This Lu Gazi is really a simple person. She can't hide her thoughts and it can be seen on her face. No wonder he was kicked out by his mother-in-law just like this. To put it bluntly, such a person can't play with ordinary people. Have any married girls in your village had their registered permanent residence returned to the village? There must be precedents for this, and it's impossible that there won't be any of them. When Zhang Xiaoxiao asked this, he naturally wanted to help her solve the problem. Since he was already here, sending the Buddha to the west had to be done in an orderly manner. Without solving the problem of settling in for her and without food rations, the family would eventually have to follow the same path of their previous life. Lu Gazi thought for a while. Yes, there are, but not many, only 4 or 5, Similar to my situation, they are all widows. But they are all relatives of the village cotters, families like ours, and other cotters in the village. If you don't have connections, you won't be able to get through to others. If you can't get through, you have to go once. How do you know if you don't go through? The situation at home is already like this. No matter how bad it is, how much worse can it get? Zhang Xiaoxiao jumped off the Kong, and she heard that Song Moding and Fan Jiangguo had returned. You can already hear the voices of the two of them talking as they carry firewood into the house. Song Moding didn't say anything. He chopped the firewood and went straight to light the fire pit. It was freezing in the room, and he didn't want Zhang Xiaoxiao to freeze. Zhang Xiaoxiao's face was not good. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the boy who followed him into the room silently. He was Lu Shuren. Although she only met Lu Shuren once, her memory was profound. After all, it was because he helped her and harmed the child. At this time, Lu Shuren has not yet grown up, but his facial features already have the shadow of his future growth. The 12-year-old boy probably had too many things going on during this period. Although he was taciturn, his eyes were calm and stubborn. But that calmness and stubbornness suddenly broke the moment he saw his sister. The vulnerability in his eyes made the child's eyes flash for a moment. "Sister, why did you come back?" These words were filled with resentment and anger. He had already sent a telegram to his sister, but he did not expect that her sister would not come back until now. Both parents have been dead for 3 months. Although he knew that his sister was married out of town and was far away from them, no matter how far away it was, it would take 2 days and 1 night to get there by train. My parents wanted to see my sister one last time, but who knew that my sister would never come back? When his father passed away, he didn't even close his eyes. He knew that his father was waiting for his sister. Lu Gazi burst into tears. Seeing her brother's stubborn expression, she knew that her brother hated her and blamed her. "He's my sister has just received the letter. Your brother-in-law has gone, and my mother-in-law has covered up all the letters from her mother's family. I wouldn't have known about it at all, if some kind-hearted people in the village hadn't told me. I really don't want to knowing that such a big thing happened at home. I know, even if I rush back at night, it's too late. What happened to my parents? How could they be fine and then die?" Lu Gazi couldn't understand even to her death. Her parents were in good health and had no serious illness or disaster. How could they just say no? As soon as Lu Shuren heard this, he couldn't help it and burst into tears. "It's not all the second uncle. Even though they didn't have firewood at home, they came to our house to cry. Grandma was playing the drum again, and finally our father asked the second uncle to take away all the firewood in the house. There was no firewood at home, so my parents had to go to the mountains to chop firewood. As it turns out, heavy snow closed the mountains 3 months ago. Thinking about it, you know how difficult it is to walk on the road. My parents accidentally fell into a snow nest, and my father was seriously injured and his ribs were broken by a stone. At that time, there was no way to send him to the county hospital. My father was still alive at home and he died of pain, and my mother was even more pitiful. By the time we found her, she was already frozen solid. Before he left, my father said that I was the only man in the family and I must take good care of my elder sister and younger sister. But as soon as my parents left, my second uncle came to our house and moved all our things away. What else can I say? In order to bury our parents, he caused a lot of famine. They dragged away everything they could, even the food at home. I can't stop it at all. I only hate myself for not growing up earlier." The boy's eyes were full of hatred. Lu Gazi hugged her brother and cried bitterly. "I never thought that my parents would die so tragically." Zhang Xiaoxiao and the 3 of them also looked at each other in shock after hearing this. They could only say that everything in this world can happen. There is no worst, only more miserable. Looking at Lu Gazi's family, you will know that there are too many injustices in the world. If it had not been for her encounter with Fan Jiangguo, Lu Gazi and her children might have been abducted by human traffickers. Then one can imagine how miserable the life of this family's younger brother and sister would be in the future. Zhang Xiaoxiao finally understood why Lu Shuren ended up like that in his previous life. It was not just because of the tragic experience at home. However, despite such a tragic experience at home, Lu Shuren could still maintain his enthusiasm and kindness and enjoy helping others. Just thinking about it this way, you can know that the parents of this family have taught their children very well. Okay, stop crying, now is not the time to cry. Now is the critical moment, we have to go to the production team leader and get your household registration and Pingping's household registration registered as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be more troubles in the future. What we have to consider now is how you three sisters can survive. What's the use of crying? Zhang Xiaoxiao knew that what she said did not sound like persuading people, but how could she do so? As expected, Lu Gazi quickly wiped away her tears when she heard this. Lu Shuren looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao, what is this? This is your sister. If they hadn't helped your eldest sister, Ping Ping, and I might have been abducted by traffickers on the road. Lu Shuren was immediately grateful, thank you, thank you. Zhang Xiaoxiao shook his head helplessly, Lu Shuren was that Lu Shuren. Sister Gazi, take 2 bars of soap and a bag of brown sugar. Let's go find the production team leader. Hide that thing in your pocket so no one can see it. At extraordinary times, only extraordinary means can be used. Lu Gazi looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao stupidly, these things are precious things. Besides, the captain had thrown away the things given to him by the gift givers before, so how could he possibly accept their gifts? Song Moding thought for a moment, otherwise, I'd better go. Give me Sister Gazi's household registration, and I'll also take the things. After all, I'm an outsider, so I can just say something. If Sister Gazi goes, what if, the captain is really angry, how do you want her to live in this village from now on? Zhang Xiaoxiao thought about it and realized that Song Moding was right. Lu Gazi will continue to live in this village from now on. If the captain really turns his back on the spot, it will be impossible to get off the stage. In the future, when people in the village hear these rumors, they will probably point fingers and gossip about Lu Gazi. How can she live in the village as a widow with 3 children? No matter what, Song Moding looked like he was from the city, especially the fact that he drove a jeep from the county, which was a bit of a deterrent to the production team leader. Plus Song Moding is angry, let the production team leader guess, maybe he can get this thing done by guessing. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded in agreement. Fan Jiangguo thought for a moment, I'll go too. I am also the director of the supply and marketing department, so I am more suitable to come forward due to my connections with others. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 183. Chapter 183 Thinking about the house. Fan Jiangguo helped them clean up the house. At this moment, someone came in from the door. Gazi, Gazi, why are you back? A man and a woman helped an old lady through the door. Zhang paused for a moment and quickly put the 2-day soap and a bag of sugar in his net bag. Hand it to Song Moding. This is a gift for the production captain. Lu Gazi hurriedly greeted him. Grandma, second uncle, second aunt. The old lady was helped in. When she saw a room full of strangers, she knew in her heart that these must be the people in the village who had been talking about driving Lu Gazi back. Lu Gazi's second uncle Lu Bao, he saw the net bag in Song Moding's hand at a glance, and his eyes lit up. The net bag contained soap, and the other bag looked like white sugar or brown sugar. These are all expensive things, and they are not easy to buy in their village. It's like soap. Who can do this if they have soap tickets? They are ordinary people with no workers or soldiers at home, so they can't get the soap at all. There is also sugar. These are all good things. Second Aunt Zhao Gilan's eyes also lit up. Gazi, who are these people? I heard that they drove you back in a car. They should be cotters from the county. Come back as soon as you said you would. Why did you give them to your grandma and your second uncle? Auntie got such a heavy gift? Your parents have just passed away. This is a difficult time. You still have to make the most of it. Don't do this next time. Second uncle and second aunt know your thoughts. My family can't do this again. Zhao Gilan was so thoughtful that she went to take the net bag from Song Moding's hand. That's what I'm talking about, I'm pretty thick-skinned. Fan Jiangguo was dumbfounded. Who are these people? Are you the second uncle and the second aunt? Lu Gazi blushed. Her second uncle and second aunt always do this. When my parents were around, my uncle and aunt would always get into trouble when they came to their house. Whenever they liked something good, they would take it away for various reasons and excuses. The problem is that she didn't bring this thing, it was brought by Zhang Xiaoxiao. And people are taking out this thing now to do things for their family. Apply for yourself a household registration. If you take this thing away, you will not be able to get your household registration back. You will be able to eat and drink whatever you want then. Her eyes were firm. If her master didn't stop her at this time, how would Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others view her? And at this time, the family has become like this, what else can't be said and can't be done? Could it be possible to watch her younger siblings and daughter starve to death with her? Second aunt, this thing is not mine, it belongs to Comrade Zhang. They are from the county, they are the children of my parents' comrades, they come to see my parents. Lu Gazi's voice was not loud, but her tone was firm. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded with satisfaction, not bad, this is a huge change. Otherwise, she would really be worried about Lu Shuren. How miserable Lu Shuren must be to have such a weak eldest sister and an underage sister in the stall. Zhao Gilan paused, but was blocked by her niece's words. Having bad breath. This niece used to be a person who couldn't beat a fart with 3 sticks. Just like her mother, she had the same face and was easy to handle. Why do you still dare to fight her now? She didn't know that Lu Gazi couldn't have bought this thing by herself. Who doesn't know how poor the Lu family is? That's what I said, and outsiders would be embarrassed not to give her this elder. It was a good thing now that Lu Gazi had exposed her. Even if she was thick-skinned, she would be too embarrassed to continue asking people for things. My face immediately turned bad. The old lady glanced at Lu Gazi and said, Gazi, your parents are gone. Tomorrow you go to the grave to burn some paper for them. You came back just in time. I have something to discuss with you. Your brothers and sisters are still young. You can marry and have your own family, we can't let them live by themselves. Look at this house, I will discuss it with my second uncle, or else let your younger brothers and sisters live in your second uncle's house. Your second uncle can't starve your siblings even if they have a mouthful of food, which is better than what they are doing now. It just so happens that your eldest brother Wei Guo is getting married. This house is freed up for your brother Wei Guo to get married. The old lady said self-righteously that she was really thinking about her grandchildren. Now that the eldest son has gone, the younger son is left. If the grandchildren don't live with the second son, the family will not even have a labor force. These 2 children will eat and drink. She also thinks that the second brother has done the most benevolent thing by doing this. Lu Shuren made a clang sound and kicked the wash basin over. Everyone in the room was shocked. Grandma, my sister, and I live with my eldest sister, so we don't have to worry about it. Even if we starve to death, we won't bother him. My parents built this house bit by bit with hard work. We won't let others live in it. The old lady's angrily reply made the old lady feel unhappy. This grandson is like this, just like his father. Doesn't speak softly at all. Look at what this says. It was as if they were here to rob the house. It was obvious that his uncle and aunt were kind-hearted and wanted to help their family, but when it came to his mouth, it turned out like this. This made outsiders sound like it was him, the grandmother, who came to rob their house with his uncle and aunt. What are you talking about? Let's see what a joke this is to the cotters and comrades in the county. Your sister has her own home, husband, and children. Is it possible that she can take care of you here for the rest of her life? How old are you, and you can't earn work points or food by yourself? How can you and your sister eat and drink? Drink the northwest wind. Your uncle and aunt have good intentions and want to support you too, so don't be ungrateful. The old lady's face darkened. Although her son was her biological son and so was her grandson, she had always been closer to the second son's family. On the contrary, the old people have become more distant from each other. The main reason is that the elder couple are clumsy and talkative. They don't know how to do things on weekdays, let alone please the old lady. Compared with the second son and the second daughter-in-law, the old lady is naturally closer to the second son's family. Lucas knew what was going on in her heart, but the people in the village didn't know yet. But if you raise your head, it's a knife, and if you don't speak clearly today, the old lady and the second uncle and the second aunt really have the idea to take their younger brother and sister to the second uncle's house. Once this house is gone, the siblings will not even have a place to stay. With the character of the second uncle and the second aunt, once this house is occupied by the Wei state, it is absolutely impossible for them to return it to them. Grandma, second uncle, and second aunt, my husband has gone, and my husband's family asked me to come back with the children. From now on, I can support my younger brothers and sisters. Don't worry, no matter how hard and tiring it is, I will definitely bring them up. Yes, don't bother the second uncle and the second aunt. Lucas's words made Zhao Gilan change his face all of a sudden. Gazi, what do you mean by this? Why did your man go away, and your mother-in-law asked you to bring the child back? Please speak clearly. Since the death of the eldest couple, the couple originally did not want to take care of the two children Lu Shuren and Lu Gaikan. I can't even raise my own children. However, my son has recently been engaged in a marriage plan, and we can't live in this house at all. There are 2 boys and a girl in their family, and if the eldest son gets married and brings his wife, it will be really hard to live there, so they are thinking about this house for the eldest couple. It is not easy to take care of the 2 little ones. Now Lucazi appears. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 184. Chapter 184. I don't agree to come back. It means that my husband is gone and he has left. He has been gone for more than half a year. I have brought my children back home and will not leave again. I will support my younger brothers and sisters by myself, so I won't bother my uncle and aunt. Lucazi knew that if she spoke clearly, it would cause a storm. After all, in this era, being a widow was not a good thing. Although she did not think of it herself, it is an indisputable fact that her man is dead. In the eyes of other people, I'm afraid she is no different from a broom star. Among the widows in the village, who has an easier life? Most of them returned to their natal families and were married off within 2 days. Either marrying a widower, or marrying someone else as a stepmother, and besides, she comes back with a child. Generally when such a widow comes back, no one wants to see her. Even if you want to get married, people are not willing to bring a drag bottle with you. Lucazi knew it herself, so she said that she supported her younger brothers and sisters and had no intention of getting married again. She would be satisfied if she could raise her younger brother, younger sister, and her own daughter. The old lady and Zhao Gilan were dumbfounded. The old lady said angrily, "Okay, why is your man gone? Tell me honestly. What's the matter with you coming back with a child? Even if you want to raise a child, you should raise the child well at your husband's house. How could she bring her husband's children back and raise them on her own? What is going on with your mother-in-law? Are they asking you to bring back their flesh and blood? Zhao Gilan couldn't help but feel anxious. If Lu Kazi really came back to support his younger brothers and sisters, as well as her own affairs, how could she force them to move out of this house? A good wishful thinking is not like being fooled by others. Yes, Kazi, what on earth is going on? Lu Kazi took a look at her daughter, who was sitting on the kong and huddled under the quilt, looking at her in confusion. Clenching her teeth hard, she must be strong. Grandma, second aunt, my husband was helping someone deliver goods last winter. He was robbed by a gangster on the way and was stabbed by someone. As a result, he died. After we finished the funeral, we finally finished the matter. My mother-in-law said that she was too old to raise her children, let alone me, so she asked me to go home with my children and live on my own. She wants to go to her daughter. I, a widow, can't go with her child. She is my sister-in-law, so I can only come back. Zhao Gilan was furious. Why is this family so useless? Even if his son is gone, won't he still have you as his wife? What kind of daughter can she find? It would be great to live with you and guard the child. Isn't this nonsense? No, Gilan, you can't listen to your mother-in-law. Although your man is gone, your house and property belong to you and your children after all. You don't live with your mother-in-law. In the future, family property will not be cheaper than others. Walk. Second uncle and second aunt will send you back, but I want to reason with your mother-in-law. How can there be such a reason? Lu Kazi sighed, let's forget it for the second uncle and the second aunt. The house and land at home are not ours in the first place. It is the family property purchased by my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and it has nothing to do with me. My mother-in-law has left. He said he was looking for his sister-in-law. I even got back the letter of introduction for my household registration. Even if you go to make trouble now, it won't help. The old lady said angrily, why are you so worthless? Your mother-in-law kicked you out naked like this? You came back with your child like this? Have you lost your mind? You brought a when the child comes back, your parents are not here, and you still have 2 underage brothers and sisters. You can feed 4 mouths by yourself. Besides, it's not like you don't know the situation of our production team. Have you ever seen any widow move her household registration back to our village? You are a relative of the village chief's family, and you are also the village chief's daughter? Lu Kazi remained silent. What her grandma scolded her for now is true. The household registration issue has indeed not been resolved. She couldn't even refute. Grandma, my sister is like this now. Even if you scold her to death, is it possible that you can still drive her out? She has come back with her niece. No matter what, we still have a roof to protect my sister and her from the wind and rain. The niece has a place to live. Lu Shiren couldn't bear to watch his sister being scolded by her grandma. What do you know? Your sister brought your niece back. She can't get registered in our village, so she can't work. There's no way to earn work points and rations. If you can't earn work points and rations, your family of 4 will be talking about drinking Northwest food. Feng, are you still hoping that your second uncle and second aunt can help you? The old lady is really anxious. Zhao Gilan became anxious upon hearing this. They have a big family. If they had 4 more mouths, they would really starve to death. Besides, why should he raise children for his eldest brother? Not only his eldest son's children, but also his eldest daughter's granddaughter. What the hell? She can't get it for free, so she has to pay for it. Kazi, listen to my aunt's advice and take the child back to find your mother-in-law. After all, you are also a member of their family. Even if your man dies, it is only natural that you live with your mother-in-law. At least you have food rations and centimeters. Now you have nothing when you return to our village. The second uncle and second aunt are not capable of raising 4 mouths. Second uncle Lu Baokyo nodded with a solemn expression. They really didn't expect that such a thing would happen to their eldest brother's family. It's true that misfortunes never come singly. Second uncle and second aunt, don't worry. I will find a way to support my younger brothers, sisters, and daughter, and I will never drag you down. I will definitely not be able to go back. I have already issued a letter of introduction to move out my household registration. Please let me go back. Where am I going back? The sky is so big and the earth is so big, the only place I can fit in is my parents' home. Second uncle and second aunt, you don't need to persuade me. I have made up my mind. From now on, I will live with my brothers and sisters, and I promise not to cause any trouble to you. Lu Kazi assured decisively. Does she have any other ideas? Zhao Gilan looked at her man. Kazi, you said nicely, you don't want to drag us down, but people in the village are watching. If you don't have a household registration, you can't earn work points and earn rations, and you really come to our door to borrow food. Are we the second-rate people? Can uncle and aunt be so cruel as to refuse to borrow it? Then the villagers didn't scold me in the spine. You are not trying to make things difficult for us. Zhao Gilan disagreed with Lu Kazi, staying. What do you mean by the second uncle and the second aunt? Let me take my children to wander outside and beg for food, and not come back to the village. Lu Kazi didn't understand what she was asking. Lu Kazi didn't understand. She didn't bother her second uncle and second aunt. Why should they stop her from coming back? Where would she go if she didn't come back? That's what you said. We didn't make you like this. You are living like this, and it's not the family I found for you. If you want to blame, you can only blame your parents. You can't come back anyway. Zhao Gilan disagreed with Lu Kazi's return. Please give me monthly votes, favorites, recommendations, and comments. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 185. Chapter 185. I can't help. Yes. You can't come back. Take your daughter and go back to your mother-in-law's house quickly. No matter what, your mother-in-law can't watch her granddaughter starve to death. The old lady was also cruel. Keeping Lu Kazi would mean leaving 2 mouths behind. Grandma, second uncle, and second aunt, please let me stay. My household registration has been moved out now. If you don't let me stay, you will force me to take my child to death. Lu Kazi fell to her knees. She was really desperate, and her mother-in-law's house was not an easy place to get along with. Her mother-in-law kicked her out of the house together with her sister-in-law and sister-in-law. If she could stay, why would she come all the way back with her daughter? Because there is no way to survive in my husband's family. If her natal family no longer allows her to stay, then she really has no choice but to die. In this era, there is no household registration and no food rations. Even if you beg for food, you must have a letter of introduction, otherwise you will be locked up as a blind immigrant. Lu Shuren pulled the eldest sister. Sister, get up, and grandma will let the eldest sister stay. The old lady relented. After all, she was her granddaughter. Could it be that she was really cruel and wanted this child to go out and starve to death? Looking back at the second son, Lu Baokyo secretly shook his head. The eldest niece cannot stay. If the eldest niece stays, it will ruin his business. The old lady couldn't help but sigh when she saw the hint given by her son. She knew what her son was thinking, and he was just interested in the house owned by his boss. But after all, the palms and backs of the hands are full of flesh. Is it possible to really watch my granddaughter die? Kazi, get up. Zhang Xiaoxiao went over and helped Lu Kazi up. The little baby Ping Ping on the bed was so frightened by her mother that she fell to her knees. The baby was crying so hard that he could hardly breathe and his face turned red. Zhang Xiaoxiao had already picked up the child and put it into Lu Kezi's arms. Lu Kezi held her crying daughter out of breath, tears streaming down her face. Fan Jiangguo took a step forward and said, "Old lady, his second uncle and second aunt, since we sent Kezi back, we have the right to say something about the matter. No matter what, my brother-in-law and Kezi's parents also considered a comrade. Before leaving, my sister and brother-in-law specially asked me to come over and take care of them." After all, Fan Jiangguo was a traveler, and the old lady and Lu Baoqiu were immediately shocked by his arrogance. Looking at his clothes, it seems that he is a cotter. "Comrade cotters, speak, if you have anything to say, just speak." They thought it was their own business if someone didn't speak just now, but now when someone speaks, they can only listen. Now that things have come to this point, Kezi has been kicked out by her mother-in-law, and she has returned to her parents' home alone with her children. She has suffered a lot on the road. If she hadn't met me on the road, she would have been kidnapped by human traffickers. This child and your great-granddaughter will be kidnapped. No matter what, if outsiders bully them, your own family cannot ignore her. Even if you don't care, you can't hinder her in this matter. This house is her parents' house, so she returns to her parents' home. That is also reasonable and legal. Our country has never said that widows are not allowed to come to their parents' homes. His second uncle and second aunt, your theory is untenable. They live in other people's houses, and they haven't lived in your house. At most, you are just the second uncle and second aunt. If you are afraid of being implicated by their sisters, and at worst, you will not interact with them in the future, what can the people in the village say to you? Kezi said that he would earn work points and food in the future to support his younger brothers and sisters. If I don't eat you or drink from you, what right do you have to prevent people from coming back? When outsiders hear that you are thinking of occupying other people's houses and the property left by their parents, won't you be afraid of this poking your spine? The second uncle and second aunt were a little embarrassed when an outsider made their words clear. Although they said they wanted to occupy the other person's house, they couldn't talk about it on their faces. Especially when they saw that the person in front of them was a cotter, they couldn't tell whether this cotter was a cotter from the county or a cotter from outside. But no matter what, it is a fact that Lu Kezi has someone's backing. Comrade cotters, we don't mean that, but we just think it's useless if she stays at home in our village. A married daughter's registered residence has been moved, but she cannot return to the village. If the household registration is not in the village, then they cannot earn work points and earn rations. What will they eat then? As uncles and aunts, we consider her and let her go back to her husband's house. It is also for her own good and the good of the children. Lu Baoqiu immediately explained that no matter how hard he said it, the cotters could not get the impression that they were trying to steal the property of his brother's family. Who knows whether I will ask for help from others in the future? You don't have to worry about this. We were going to go to the production team leader immediately to talk about this matter. The household registration issue will definitely be solved for them, so don't worry about it. Kezi, your second uncle and two aunts are talking about this. You should also understand the good intentions of your second uncle and two aunts. You can't drag down your second uncle and second aunt in the future. You can live your own lives. Even if you can't open the pot, you can't trouble the second uncle and second aunt. If you need anything, just call me. I will help anyone who can. Fan Jiangguo finally figured out that these two people were nothing to each other. The reason why he said this was also to hope that Lu Kezi could draw a clear line between her and her second uncle and aunt. After all, they were still uncles and aunts, not her parents. After the province is over, these two couples may come to the house again to cause trouble. In the village, there are more things like relying on the elders to come to the door to make love, than in the city. I have seen my sister-in-law behave like this. Every time I brought something home, my sister-in-law would always take it back to her parents' home without being secretive. Even though it sounds nice, my sister-in-law doesn't dare to blatantly do it. He looked at the second uncle in front of him. The second aunt did not seem to be the kind of person who cared about face. If he was really shameless, Lucas would not leave any bones or dregs left if he was not eaten. It was not that there was nothing he could do about it. If there was anything he could do, he would really rather Lucas and the others took their children to live outside. But after all, that is not a long-term solution. He has to eat rations wherever he goes. Without a household registration, he will harm his family. So I can only do my best to help Lucas and be a false supporter. Of course, if Lucas really calls and asks for help, Fan Jiangguo will definitely help if he can. After all, this woman has a child and 2 underage siblings. She is really pitiful, and she is not a strong character. Lucas hurriedly stepped forward to thank him. Second uncle and second aunt, don't worry, I will definitely not bring you down. No matter how good or bad our family is in the future, I will definitely not come to ask for help from my second uncle and second aunt. I will never let my younger brothers and sisters drag you down, uncle and aunt. Even if I eat chaffy vegetables, I will definitely raise my younger brothers and sisters. Thank you, uncle and aunt. Lucas knew that this was Fan Jiangguo's intervention, otherwise it would be strange that the second uncle and the second aunt would relent so easily. Lu Baoqiu has a look. Have to. They can't say anything if there are cotters here. After all, they are just uncles and aunts. It is possible that they are making a big fuss and not letting their nieces return to the village. But it is strange that they can obtain the household registration. Who is the production captain? He can apply for household registration for others at will. Okay, you can just think about it yourself. My uncle and aunt are not afraid of getting involved with you. If you need help, my uncle and aunt will definitely help. After all, we are a family. Zhao Gilan glared, you'd better forget it. I've seen that Kazi is a capable person. I haven't seen so many big cotters helping out. Maybe they will be rich and powerful in the future. Where is the use of our help? I can't help. I can hardly afford to raise my own son and daughter at home. From now on, it's better to have less contact with each other. Turn around and walk away. Lu Baoqiu supported his mother to follow. At a glance, one can tell that Zhao Gilan is in charge of the second uncle's family. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 186. Chapter 186 Scheming. Zhao Gilan went home angrily. Lu Baoqiu helped the old lady through the door. Mom, please go back to the house and rest. Gilan has that temper. Don't be offended. I'll go and persuade her. With that mother-in-law's temper, I'm afraid I'll have to embarrass my mother-in-law when I come back. The old lady sighed. She lived in her second son's house. Although she was close to her second son and his wife, the second daughter-in-law's temper was really unbearable. After so many years, I still lose my temper and lose face at every turn. She doesn't care at all. Elders don't exist in her eyes. If she hadn't really cared about her second son, she wouldn't have been able to live here and be so angry. But who asked his old man to die early, leaving him alone as an old woman, and now the boss is gone? What can I do if I can't bear it? Is it possible to see my second son suffering from this splint? It can only be her, an old lady, who is so angry. You should give your wife some good advice. It's not easy for Gazi, after all, we are a family. If she really feels uncomfortable, the worst is that she will have to leave Gazi alone in the future. The old lady went back to the house. Liu Baoqiu entered the room and saw Zhao Gazi lying on the kong, with his face turned towards the wall. Why do you always have such a bad temper and get angry easily? What should the cotter who was present just now think when he saw what you said? This is not sincere to embarrass the children. How old is Weiguo, and you? It's not like you don't know that your son is getting married soon. You have to think about your son if you don't care about anything else. Fill in dry tobacco. Zhao Gilan sat up for a moment. I don't think about my son. Who doesn't think about my son? You are not speaking out of conscience. Why am I working so hard here? It's not so that my son can have a house to get married. Our family is crowded together. Can't even turn around. Even though your eldest brother's house is not good, it still has 5 rooms. Now, Gazi is back. Tell me how I can get my son married and how can I buy him a house? Why am I bothering with Bala's efforts here? It's not just for this family. You could just say a few words and let Gazi stay easily. You have to figure out your own solution for your son's house. Zhao Gilan's heart was filled with fire. I said, what do you want me to say about you? You always have this temper. Why don't you talk properly and listen to what I want to do? Come back as soon as Gazi comes back. Didn't you see the way the 3 city dwellers looked at us? What kind of look do I care what kind of look he has? I live my own life, why should I care about an outsider? Is it possible that they can take care of Liu Gazi for the rest of his life? What the hell? It's amazing to be a cotter. You can mind other people's business. Zhao Gilan sat cross-legged on the kong and raised her voice to speak to her mother-in-law. I'm talking about you, why don't you have any brains? No matter what, they are cotters in the city. If they really want to be reasonable, what reason do we have to say that we won't let them come back to live there? That is their home. My parents, you are just an aunt and uncle, what right do you have to not let me come back to live with you? If we really break up, do you think you are right? Liu Baoqiu looked helpless at his wife's face. His daughter-in-law has no brains at all except how to make noises. Then what are your ideas? You can't just let it go. Where will your son get married? We have already made arrangements with his in-laws. Zhao Gilan saw her man spitting smoke and immediately understood that her man had an idea. Apart from her ability to throw tantrums, quarrel and pull her hair, she is naturally not as discerning as her man in other matters. Gazi will come back as soon as she comes back. It's only natural for her to come back, so let her come back. Coming back doesn't mean she can live a good life. Liu Baoqiu said nonchalantly. You said it lightly, she is back, but what is she doing with her life? When Gazi comes back, do you think the production team leader can give her a household registration? Absolutely not, she doesn't have a household registration. How will she live with the 3 little ones? She needs food rations but not food rations, and she needs work points but not work points. It won't take more than 2 days, and those days will be gone. If we can't survive, we will still have to ask our uncles and aunts to come forward. I thought about it for a while. You should hurry up and make inquiries in the next 2 days to find another family for Gazi. When the request comes, marry Gazi. By then, don't we have to arrange the 2 younger ones? The house is still in our hands, and we are still responsible for it. As uncles and aunts, we can help them. Between emotion and reason, no one can find fault between us. You, don't use your brain. Besides, there are 3 city dwellers behind Gazi, so maybe we can still get some credit. When Zhao Gilan heard this, he immediately became energetic. Oh, old man, you still have an idea. Why didn't I think of it? Just come back as a widow and marry her off. What else can it do to hinder us? Okay, I'll go right away. Not in our village. In a village, you may not always return to your parents' home. There are quite a few bachelors in my natal village who cannot find a wife. If they could get a wife for free, they would probably be vying for one. Zhao Gilan said that he was about to leave immediately. Liu Baoqiu shook his head and said, "You should calm down a bit today. Even if you want to get married, you can't do it right away. The 3 city dwellers are still here today. At least wait until the city dwellers leave. We still have to see what happens. You can't rush this matter, otherwise it will be easy for others to talk about it, and you don't want others to poke your son's spine. My daughter-in-law is too anxious." Zhao Gilan nodded. Naturally, his man's mood immediately improved. Song Moding and Fan Jiangguo's family over there took their things and went to the production team leader's house with Lu Gazi. The household registration issue must be resolved. Lu Gazi felt anxious. If she couldn't get her Huqiao into the brigade, she would really have no way out. 3 people entered the production team leader's house. People in this village didn't close the yard during the day. "Captain, Captain, I am Gazi," shouted twice. The door curtain was opened, and the captain's second fat ant had already greeted her with a smile. "It's Gazi, come in, come in. Today your uncle came back and told me that it was you who came back. I still don't believe it. I didn't expect that you really came back. Come in and sit down. These 2 are the big guys in the city. A cotter? Get in the house quickly, get in the house quickly, it's so cold outside." The 3 guests followed the host and entered the house directly. The captain was sitting in the room. When he saw the 3 of them getting up, he hurriedly greeted them and asked them to sit on the kong. Seeing that the 3 people were holding something in their hands, the captain knew that they were begging to come to the door. "This is something you have to do by yourself. But the big cotters in the city have nothing to do with themselves, and they have something to do with Lu Gazi." End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 187. Chapter 187 Dilemma. "Uncle Ant, I didn't bring anything with me when I came back. I just brought 2 bars of soap, a pound of sugar, and some kindness, please accept it." Lu Gazi's strong words made Fan Jiangguo almost laugh out loud. "This is a bit harsh to say. Oh, you kid, you can't do this. This soap and white sugar are so valuable, and you still take so much. That's not okay. I can't just collect things randomly. When the time comes, people will say that I accepted bribes. Then I'll pay it back. Yes, you are not harming me." Lu Renhe's rejection was a righteous rejection. What a joke. "There are 2 cotters sitting in front of me. If I try to collect something, I will be immediately caught as a pigtail. It makes sense and I can't explain it clearly. He is that kind of person. Captain Lu, this is her junior. I want to give you, an elder, a little thought. I have lived in the village for so many years. How can I not do my best when I come back? How can this be called bribery? This is the normal way of leaving home. Relative. Besides, Gazi is in trouble here. To put it bluntly, I come to you with empty hands and I really feel that my face is not bright." Fan Jiangguo felt that when he opened his mouth, they couldn't make others feel like they were looking for trouble. "Comrade Fan, I am his uncle. Besides, as fellow villagers, I have had a pretty good relationship with his parents over the years. If you have anything to say, just talk about it. We don't have to be polite." "What do you mean by elders and juniors?" When Lu Renhe looked at the person in front of him, he could feel that this person should be a leader when he spoke. Otherwise, the words coming out of this mouth would have a different momentum. Since someone opens this mouth, it means that they are really asking him to do something. "Uncle Captain, I really have no choice. Let me tell you the truth. When I came back this time, my husband passed away and I came back with my children. You also know the current situation of my family. I want to get my Huqiao settled. In our village, we can at least earn some work points and food rations to support our younger siblings and children. With Fan Jiangguo's encouragement, Lu Gazi stumbled out her words and immediately looked at Lu Renhe expectantly. Lu Renhe was startled. What is this? How come the old Lu family is in such bad luck? My parents have just passed away, and my daughter has become a widow. Gazi, you know that if you move out of this household registration, you will be from another village. If you want to move back again, it will be very difficult. It's not that my uncle won't help you, it's just that it's not easy to handle. It's not that Lu Renhe didn't help. He was the production team leader, but he couldn't cover the sky with one hand. Everyone in the village was watching with wide eyes. If he applies for a household registration for Lu Gazi, and if the daughters of other families in the village come back, if he doesn't do it, then he will block their doors and come to scold them. Once this kind of precedent is set, the gap cannot be closed later. At that time, other cotters in the village will follow suit. How can I be a production captain? Besides, it is the policy of the superiors not to allow this household registration to be returned. Lu Gazi's eyes showed disappointment. She knew it would be like this. Captain Lu, let's speak frankly, you have also seen how Lu Gazi is doing now. She has moved her child's household registration back. To put it bluntly, she has issued a letter of introduction for household registration transfer. If she is not allowed to settle down, she will become a blind drifter. Besides, you have also seen the current situation of the Lu family. The younger brothers and sisters are not adults yet. As her sister, she can take care of them more or less when she comes back, otherwise these two children will become a burden to the village. I know there must be policies in the county that impose restrictions and conditions on household registration management. Otherwise, please see if there is any way to help Lu Gazi get her household registration into the village. As long as you point out a clear path, why don't we just go on our own? I definitely cannot drag you down, Captain Lu. Fan Jiangguo took out the hungtashan in his pocket. He had specially prepared it when he came here, just for running errands. It comes in handy now. Handed the cigarette to Lu Renhe. Lu Renhe took a look at hungtashan. He had never seen this kind of cigarette before. He could tell by looking at the glass and his mouth that this was a good cigarette, and ordinary people couldn't smoke it. Comrade Fan, although our production team leader has the final say in registering in this village, there are conditions. This is a carrot and a pit. Since I want to go back to the village to register, I will have to work points and rations. I am the only one here. It doesn't matter if you say it, the whole village has to agree. In our village, it has been said that married women who have not been married for many years have their household registrations transferred back. It was only more than 10 years ago that widows were said to have their household registrations transferred back. But it really hasn't happened in recent years. In Lu Gazi's situation, the only thing I, as the captain, can do to help her is to think of ways to pass the message on to the boss. If the leaders above agree, the household registration will naturally be granted. But if the leaders above don't approve it, if I do it, it will be a big deal. Even my captain cannot bear this responsibility. This means that you have to work out the relationship on your own. The above speech, he said everything, no one said, and he would not offend the father and fellow of the village. This is personal essence. Lu Gazi was a little dumbfounded. She was an ordinary citizen, so she was asked to go to the top. Fan Jiangguo's heart sank. The production captain was not fooled by his 4 tricks at all. He was smarter than him. As a supply and marketing section chief from another province, what kind of county leaders in the northeast can I find? This is not an embarrassment. But Fan Jiangguo didn't say anything. This matter couldn't be rushed. Everything is possible. After all, there is a forest farm, maybe the director of the forest farm can help him. They are salespeople, they don't know how to walk or talk to death. It may turn over at any time. Well, since Captain Lu has made it clear, We won't embarrass Captain Lu. I'll make a call and see if it's okay. Song Moding opened his mouth, which surprised Fan Jiangguo. This person seems to be more confident than me. You are an educated youth, can you please stop fooling around? Fan Jiangguo has long known that this is an educated youth with his niece, and he has always seemed trustworthy, but why is his brain so hot this time? This matter is not easy to handle. This is not a relationship between ordinary people, and there is really no way to handle it. When Lu Renhe heard this, he grinned and said, "Okay, let's go. Come with me to the brigade headquarters. There is a phone there. It's okay to use a phone." Song Moding smiled at Fan Jiangguo and said, "Uncle Fan, please sit here for a while. We will come back as soon as we go." His attitude is still so gentle and polite, making people unable to feel disgusted with this person. Fan Jiangguo nodded helplessly. Go. Go. Think about who to ask for help for a while. Lu Kezi felt uneasy because her household registration was really a problem. If there is really no way to settle down, it will be the death of their family. If it doesn't work, she will. Lu Kezi glanced at Fan Jiangguo and bit her lip. Sometimes she was forced to do nothing, and she didn't want to be a shameless person. But who can help them now? She couldn't believe anyone except Fan Jiangguo. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 188. Chapter 188 completed. Brother Fan, let me discuss something with you. Lu Kezi saw the second fat ant going to work in the yard and found an opportunity to speak. Fan Jiangguo raised his head and saw Lu Kezi blushing. I felt secretly strange. Why are you blushing? You say. Why should I blush when discussing something? However, Lu Kezi is really good looking, with fine features and beautiful eyes, but her life is not good. Marrying a man is short-lived, but a woman with a child will have a hard time in the future. Brother Fan, why don't you help me talk to my fat aunt and find me someone in the village? If I get married, I can get my registered permanent residence in the village, right? Lu Kezi went to the doctor because of her illness. Fan Jiangguo sighed. This girl was in a hurry, so she thought of such a stupid move. Even if you marry into this village, have you ever thought that you are marrying someone with a daughter, let alone whether anyone is willing to have it? Even if someone agrees to marry you, but they agree I want to marry you, but can I agree that you can still support your younger brothers and sisters? Fan Jiangguo also knew whether this was a good thing to say or not, and his words were indeed a bit hurtful. But what I said is true. This girl only thought about getting married, but she didn't think about marrying someone else. She wanted to be someone else's wife. Who wants to marry a woman and let her earn work points to support other people's younger brothers and sisters? Should I come back with a wife or a grandma to support me? Lu Kezi's face suddenly turned pale. She just thought that she would be able to get the household registration by marrying someone, but she never thought about marrying someone else. Who can allow himself to earn rations to support his younger siblings? It will not be his younger siblings who will be pitiful. Okay, don't think blindly. If it doesn't work out then, I'll find a way for you. I can always think of a way to settle you and your brothers and sisters. Lu Jiangguo thought for a while. If that didn't work, he would talk to the forest farm about the wood this time and see if the director of the forest farm could come up with something. I am not familiar with this place, so the only person who can think of a solution is the director of the forest farm. In any case, the two companies are talking about cooperation. Maybe the director of the forestry farm can open this hole. At worst, I can go back and find a way to help them find some food. In short, I can't bear to see this girl's pitiful appearance. Besides, this family has indeed suffered terribly. Marrying into any family, whatever good family you can marry. At this time, I am afraid that someone will add insult to injury. Lu Kezi doesn't speak, what can she say? There is no one who speaks at all. The only thing that can be thought of is to use the method of marrying to help his brother and sister, but this marriage is not good. Indeed, considering the situation in their village, no one is a big family with a family and a mouth. People take a daughter-in-law back home to earn food and work points for their own family. Could it be that they take a daughter-in-law back home to support their mother-in-law's family? This logic doesn't make sense anywhere. I also lost my head. Fan Jiangguo wanted to comfort the girl in front of him, but the comfort was useless. This kind of comfort was too pale. The problem right now for this girl and her younger siblings is how to survive. Without a household registration, they have no work points and no food rations. Let alone letting them survive until the autumn harvest, it will have no effect. Can they help for a while or for the rest of their lives? You can't just send food from the city all day long when you have nothing to do. Every household is not well off. This kind of help can only harm others, and it must be attached to one's own family. The rations that my parents eat in the city are obtained by my sister and brother-in-law. If you take this kind of thing into your own hands again, you are being too brainless. But let's talk about not helping. This girl is really miserable, and Xiao Xiao also said that she helped an educated youth friend and wanted to repay her kindness, and it was the Lu family who wanted to repay her kindness. No matter what, when things have reached this point, we can only take it one step at a time. Anyway, if he can help, he will help it to the end. At present, the results that can be helped are limited. The atmosphere in the room was silent. The second fat ant walked into the house and saw that no one was talking in the room. I also know that if someone encounters something like this, there is nothing they can do about it. After a while, Lu Renhe and Song Moding came back. Captain Lu had a smile on his face, and he was talking to Song Moding in full enthusiasm. The children quickly packed up and prepared lunch. I will treat Comrade Song and Comrade Fan to have dinner here later. They have traveled all the way, so we have to do our best to be landlords. Besides, Gazi is also a child from our village who went out. She is lucky to have the help of Comrade Song and Comrade Fan. It would be unjustifiable for us as uncles and aunts not to help her. Fan Jiangguo felt keenly that there was something in Captain Liu's words, and his attitude was a bit too affectionate. Although Captain Lu was a little cautious about them, before he knew their identities, Captain Lu didn't get too close to them. But it seems a little different now. Looking at Song Moding smiled. Captain Lu, I won't eat this meal. You said that we have caused you such a big trouble, come to your door to do errands, and eat and drink at your house. What are you talking about? Besides, in the future, there are many days that come and go. I told you, I'm in the forest farm next to the Kenking farm. If you need anything then, just give me a call and we can help each other. From now on, Comrade Gazi will have to ask more of you to take care of her. If you have any difficulties, just ask Gazi to call us, and we will definitely help. No matter what happens, the elders in the family will explain this matter. The Lu family will be our relatives from now on. What happened to their brothers and sisters is our problem, so as long as you don't mind that we have caused such a big trouble for you, you still have to eat at your house. I don't have that face. Song Moding spoke openly enough, and Captain Lu immediately laughed. To put it bluntly, it is very distressing for people like them to entertain others for a meal, let alone big fish and meat, that does not exist. Even if the family has dry food such as steamed buns, it will only last a few days for the whole family. They are quite virtuous. Fan Jiangguo didn't understand when he heard it. It was obvious that the matter was done. Captain Lu, yes, Xiao Song is right. How can we eat and drink at your place when we come? As long as you can help Gazi and the others settle down, everything else will be easy. What I specialize in Beijing is sales. If your family wants to buy a sewing machine, a TV, a washing machine, etc. as a betrothal gift for your son's wedding, just give me a call and I'll promise to help you. Captain Lu laughed. Oh, I never thought that you are all capable people. Don't worry, leave Gazi to me, don't worry. As for the household registration, I will register it for her early tomorrow morning, and she will be able to earn work points by then. Rations. I will definitely help if there are any difficulties. Given the enthusiasm of Comrade Song and Comrade Fan, how can I, a fellow villager who has watched them grow up, not lend a hand? Don't tell me, Comrade Fan, what you just said speaks volumes to my heart. This son of mine is getting married soon. This woman's family always wants this or that. We rural people also know that it is difficult to buy something. How can we get the good stuff from the supply and marketing cooperative in the county? If anything happens, I will call you, and I will definitely not be polite. You can't refuse to admit it when the time comes. This is an absolutely hard relationship. Fan Jiangguo smiled and agreed that this was nothing. As long as Lu Gazi and his family can be settled, it is just a matter of raising their hands. Captain Lu sent the people out. Go back after seeing no one around. The second fat ant asked, what's going on? Is it done? If a man can say that about this matter, it proves that it really matters. Lu Renhe nodded, not to mention, Comrade Song went to make a phone call, but the county called me less than 2 minutes later. It was a call from the secretary of the county leader. Just because this family is capable, the Lu family will be able to climb high in the future. You can remember that in the future, she will help Gazi more in the village. No matter what, her grandma and second uncle are not reliable. We have to keep this relationship going. If there is no other reason, I must always consider the sons at home. If there is any suitable opportunity, the children can work in the county factory. That's better than facing the lowest and turning your back to the sky with the rest of us. Those relationships are not something I, a production captain, can help my son through. Captain Lu has a clear mind. The second fat ant stuck out her tongue and said, oh, it's a pity that the old Lu family has such a good relationship and they don't want to leave. Otherwise, the couple is gone. They are good people, and they can be considered good people. There will be good news. Please give me monthly votes, favorites, recommendations, and comments. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 189. Chapter 189 Eating. Lu Gazi came back anxiously. She didn't understand for a long time whether it was done or not. As soon as he entered the door, Zhang Xiaoxiao greeted him. A steaming pot of soup. It doesn't matter what the Lu family wants in the kitchen. No matter how talented she is, she can't come up with any tricks. She can only make a soup with some white noodles and vegetables in her own space. They didn't dare to bring out anything else. The Lu family was completely bare and extremely poor. Even if they wanted to give it to the Lu family, they couldn't make enough money. Lu Gaiken's fever has gone away, but she is still wilted. Lying on the kong, looking at his little niece. Lu Shiren was helping Zhang Xiaoxiao run around and light the fire to cook. He seemed to be a discerning man. As soon as Zhang Xiaoxiao saw them coming back, he hurriedly greeted them. You must be so hungry. Let's go in and eat first. We just want to talk about how things are going. Can we get our household registration? If we really can't get our household registration, no, I'll go to the county to find Mr. Wang. What others say won't work. Is it possible that what Director Wang said is not enough? Zhang Xiaoxiao had been thinking about this while cooking just now, and maybe he would have to go to Director Wang in the end. After all, they don't know many capable people. Director Wang is known to every village and often travels to the village. Which production team leader doesn't know him? He wants to open his mouth, which production captain can refuse? Besides, Director Wang is also a good person and an enthusiastic person. Lucas's family would definitely not ignore the situation if they ask Secretary Wang to do something about it. Even if they go through the back door, it's not too much. Fan Jiangguo smiled and said, "It's been done a long time ago. I didn't expect Song Moding to be so capable. Who do you know in the county? You actually solved this matter with just one phone call. I see Captain Liu. Yes. You respect me very much. It seems that the person you are looking for has a strong background. Song Moding Waner, Zhang Xiaoxiu's uncle, is quite a powerful person. I poison. Uncle Zhang is actually an old colleague of my grandpa's here. It just so happens that I helped the farm negotiate food this time, so I have looked for him, so I won't do it again. Anyway, if you have too many lice, you won't have to worry about debt. Lucas's younger brother, if my sister doesn't have her by her side to protect her, I'm afraid it will be a problem in the future. I didn't learn this from my uncle. You are willing to help others, and I am helping them to the end." Fan Jiangguo actually likes the boy in front of him. He has a sweet mouth and can get things done. The problem is that he can get it done. Looks good and works steadily. Kazi, you have to thank Comrade Song very well, he has helped you a lot. Lu Kazi said, "Brother Fan, do you mean that my household registration can be settled in the village? You just said it in a fog for a long time, and I can't understand it." That's what she guessed, but she couldn't believe it. After all, she didn't believe that the person she met on the road had such a great fortune. With such a strong backing, it is not something that ordinary people can do to make their production captain relax. There is such a thing as good luck in the world, but it happened to me as soon as I met it. She really couldn't believe it. You are such a silly girl. Of course it can be done. If not, can the production team leader send us out with a smile? Lukazi had an excited smile on her face. She really didn't expect that this thing could be done. "Thank you, Brother Fan, thank you, Comrade Song, thank you too, otherwise I would have made sure that this matter would not work. I would also like to thank you on behalf of my younger brothers and sisters. You have saved the lives of our whole family." Lukazi was about to kneel down as she spoke. For them, that was a life-saving grace greater than heaven. Fan Jiangguo helped the person up. "Don't kneel down. What kind of society is this? This is a new society. How can we still do this? If you are really grateful to us, raise your younger brothers and sisters properly. Living your life well is better than anything else. This way we can be happy watching it. You are just too soft-tempered. If you were more decisive and quick when doing things, we wouldn't worry. I watched it for a long time, and I think your younger brother is quite awesome. You should raise your younger siblings properly." Lukazi nodded repeatedly, not knowing what to say if she was grateful. The family came to the house. Lu Gaikan was lying on the kong, and Lukazi fed her half a bowl of noodles. The little girl immediately became lively after eating. After all, the fever had gone away, so she should feel better no matter what. Zhang Xiaoxiao has 100 times confidence in his peach. If his peach doesn't work, it will probably not only be a disease, but also fatal. Lu Shiren was holding a bowl of noodles. He didn't want to serve it at first. There were so many people at home, and he was afraid that there wouldn't be enough food at home. People are here to help them, and they must treat them well, even if they are unreasonable. But he doesn't know how much food he has at home. The little cornmeal is not enough for these people. Even if it is beaten into a paste, it is not enough. Unexpectedly, he did not expect that people would bring their own food when they came to their house. When he took out the white flour, he was shocked. Who can afford to eat white flour now? If they can eat cornmeal, they are all good families. His family had this little cornmeal when he noticed something was wrong with his second uncle and second aunt, So he secretly took it out in the middle of the night, otherwise he and his sister would have been deprived of food. Every time at home, he is the last one to eat, and whatever is delicious and filling is given to his sister first. This time he still wanted to do this. He originally wanted to sneak out during the chaos and come back to clean up the battlefield after they all finished eating. However, who knew that Zhang Xiaoxiao grabbed him and gave him a full bowl. He stuffed a bowl into his hand. Eat quickly. If you don't sit down at the table to eat, why are you running around? Don't worry, the food at home is enough. No matter what, I can't let you, the host, not eat, but let us, the guests, eat. The circles under Zhang Xiaoxiao's eyes were a little red. This child is so sensible at such a young age. Lu Shuren said, he didn't mean that. I'm not too hungry yet, I'm going to do some other work first, and then I'll eat when I'm hungry in the evening. Our family will have one meal. Find yourself a high-sounding reason. 12-year-old children already have self-esteem. Don't say you're not too hungry. I've heard the sound of drumming in your stomach a long time ago. Can your stomach scream when you're not hungry? Eat quickly. Sister said, there is enough food. We have brought enough food for us to eat. I guarantee that it will be enough for us you eat until the autumn harvest. Even if it is not enough, when we return to our farm, Comrade Song and I will send you food. No matter what, we have to let your brothers and sisters survive until the autumn harvest. Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't take out the food at once. On the way here, Song Moding carried the food on his back. Everyone knows how much it was. Even if she wanted to increase the number, she couldn't. She could only secretly put a few more kilograms in it, but no matter how much it was hard to tell, and it would be bad for others to see the clues. Lu Shuren held the bowl and ate the steaming noodles, his tears dripping into the bowl, which was salty. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 190. Chapter 190, Blocking the Road. Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others naturally had to prepare to go back after eating. The food for the train will arrive tomorrow. Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others still have a lot to do and cannot stay at Liu's house any longer. However, Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others left the phone calls to Lu Shuren and Lu Gazi. Let them call if they have anything to do, and don't be afraid to trouble others. It's better to have someone to help them at this time than to worry in secret. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Lu Gazi said that at this time, they should be thinking about how to stand up on their own. Take good care of your younger brothers and sisters at home. Don't be afraid of any embarrassment. Don't make any family scandal public. Think more about your younger brothers and sisters. Face is nothing, life is better than anything else. If she can't stand up, her second uncle and second aunt will not be easy to get along with. That couple could probably eat all the skin and cramps out of their siblings. Lu Gazi agreed and bit her lip hard. She was also envious when she saw Zhang Xiaoxiao, who was self-reliant and yet so straightforward. The girl is still younger than her, but compared to her, she is more than a little stronger. It is indeed like Zhang Xiaoxiao's novel, she must stand up by herself. She is the oldest in the family now. If she can't protect her younger brothers and sisters, how can she have the dignity to live up to her underground parents? Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others returned to the city. They returned to the county town. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding went directly to the house at the freight station, while Fan Jiangguo went back to his niece's house. Zhang Xiaoxiao took the freight bill, not to mention that the 5,000 kilograms of grain had actually arrived, so he asked a porter to unload the grain directly into the yard. Taking this opportunity, she took out more than 10,000 kilograms of grain, so together, it was another 20,000 kilograms. When my uncle leaves, I will take out another 50,000 kilograms and say that my uncle sent it from northern Beijing. Who can find the evidence? Song Moding and the others were busy all night and waited until dawn before calling the forest farm directly. After receiving the call, the director of the forestry plantation immediately sent a truck directly to pick up the grain. Moreover, he came in person, mainly because he heard that Fan Jiangguo was coming. This is a great benefactor to their entire forest farm and even their entire farm. These tens of thousands of kilograms of grain not only saved their forest farm, but also benefited the farm. Although there are hundreds of educated youths, tens of thousands of kilograms of grain can be divided into at least more than 100 kilograms per head. Don't underestimate these 100 kilograms of grain. You can eat these 100 kilograms for at least 4 months. This is not about transporting tens of thousands of kilograms of grain again. Adding up the inside and outside, there will be no problem if everyone persists until the autumn harvest. Whoever has food at this time is as good as a rich man. This is not a benefactor. You must know that the farm brings back the grain and distributes it. The farm production team next to him has long been jealous. Many people inquired privately. There were also people who came to try to make friends with him, especially the production captains from the farms he was familiar with. If you talk to someone directly when they come to your door, are you still not a friend? If friends collect thousands of kilograms of grain first, let them solve the problem. The director of the field is so happy, Guo Dongjun didn't come to thank his benefactor in person. As soon as he saw Fan Jiangguo, Guo Dongjun shook hands and thanked him in buckets and baskets. Fan Jiangguo's face turned red when he was told that he had only brought so much food, yet he was so grateful. You can imagine how serious the disaster was in this place. He secretly made up his mind to think of a solution when he went back. It looked like he had to get some food for Zhang Xiaoxiao and the others. As soon as Fan Jiangguo revealed his intention, Guo Dongjun quickly thanked him. The two people agreed again that Fan Jiangguo would think of a way to get them some food after he returned. Fan Jiangguo was feeling strange privately. He just wondered why Guo Dongjun was talking so much, and he seemed to have taken a lot of food. He only took 5,000 kilograms of grain. Could Guo Dongjun have remembered it incorrectly? Why did it become 50,000 kilograms? Guo Dongjun didn't say much, except for one sentence. Fan Jiangguo felt that either he heard it wrong, or Guo Dongjun might have said it wrong. However, he couldn't say anything more when they met for the first time. Anyway, when the accounts were settled in the end, he would finally know what was going on, so he couldn't even make a wrong payment. Zhang Xiaoxiao had rushed over a long time ago to stay with his uncle, for fear that what he had done would be exposed. Song Moding helped the educated youths inside to load the goods directly, and also packed the goods on the way back. Seeing Zhang Chaoyang, Song Moding didn't say anything. Anyway, if two people don't deal with each other, there's no point in talking too much. However, because Song Moding was there, Zhang Chaoyang and the others worked very hard, as if they wanted to compete with Song Moding. There were two trucks going back. The truck that Zhang Xiao, Fan Jiangguo and others took went directly to the forest farm, because Fan Jiangguo wanted to see the wood, and of course he also had to take photos of the transportation of the wood. He has a heavy responsibility this time, and the wood has already been arranged with others. With so many connections, people are waiting for these lumber. Although they don't need to approve it, these are hot commodities. He couldn't let go if he didn't watch him get on the train in person, and even if he got on the train in person, he would still have to follow the train back. Guo Dongjun had already read the list that Fan Jiangguo gave him. These timbers were not a problem for them. They are backed by mountains, and there are mountains behind them, and there is a famous forest behind them. These trees are not a problem for them, and the stock in their forest farm is enough to cope with them. Don't say that when spring comes here, work can start on the mountain. It is not easy for workers to go up to the mountains to cut wood, especially since they are the fraternal units who come to help them solve their problems, so they naturally have to choose the best. This matter must be done openly. The two parties have agreed on the price. Since Fan Jiangguo has already delivered the food, there is no need to pay a deposit. Fan Jiangguo will pay the remaining balance after he returns. As the guarantor, Zhang Xiaoxiao will be responsible for this amount and ensure that the forest farm receives all the money. Fan Jiangguo also promised to help them find ways to raise some food when he goes back. Everyone happily ran towards the farm, but unfortunately the car couldn't move halfway. They were stopped by others on the way. I saw 50 or 60 aggressive people with hoes, poles, and even sickles in their hands, and all kinds of weapons blocked their car on the road, and there was a log across the road. The truck can't get past it? As soon as the car stopped, these people surrounded the car. Had it not been for Song Moding and Zhang Sheiyang's misunderstandings, and several male-educated youths holding weapons against them directly from behind, I'm afraid the food in the car would have been torn off. Song Moding's heart sank. It seemed that these people came here for the food in their car. Guo Dongjun hurriedly got out of the car, and the two groups faced each other in front of the car. Guo Dongjun recognized him at a glance as the captain of the 5th Brigade of Chunfeng Farm. They had met everyone at meetings in the county. Even if they were not familiar with each other, they always nodded when they met. Is this an open robbery? Please give me monthly votes, favorites, recommendations, and comments. End of this chapter.